analysis. Peter Zalmayev, if I can bring you back in on these developments in terms of the Russian assets. The fact that Belgium is still so worried legally in terms of the repercussions, what it could mean for the Belgian taxpayers if Russia wins the war, does that not tell you that Europe is not confident?
Not only that, and not only not only just this part of his rhetoric, but if you listen to what he said at that, that little talk that was televised, the Belgian Prime Minister, he actually repeated Kremlin's lines about how that it is predestined to win this war, that Russia is a sure winner, and as the winner, then it would be able to have a claim on this, and Belgium would be in a hole, let's say. I was very distraught to hear this sort of defeatist rhetoric, even if the prime minister of this country may believe that or have a suspicion. It seems to me that is a radical departure from the position of the European Union, such as we are with with Ukraine, as long as it takes. This is defeatist. This is not very helpful. Back in the United States during World War II, there was a term for that: surrender monkey. I'm not calling the Belgian prime minister a monkey. I'm just saying this is not very helpful to the men and women who are now fighting in the trenches, resisting bravely. And let's not forget, 4 years now. And as to the legal repercussions, once again, desperate times call for desperate measures. There's nothing less is at stake than the very identity and the survival of the liberal democratic idea of the European Union. Over a year ago, there was a report that came out under the authorship of collective authorship of American and European professors, that was headed by the Lawrence Tribe, the professor of the Harvard University, that actually set out this case, how it is a sui generis, exceptional case, and Russia deserves this action taken against it as a violator of international norms. So now we're bickering about the legal niceties and nuances here, when this is the most, fateful moment probably in this entire war. And we are going to be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. No time for prevarication. Yes, Belgium should have guarantees that the rest of the European Union will back it up. But this is no time for these legal niceties. Europe is looking at it. Then the Trump administration is looking at it, and they're laughing at Europe as weak. And while they're dithering about this, in fact, Trump is ready to divide the spoils, the very assets we're talking about, with his partner, Vladimir Putin.
And this is all coming as Zelensky's trying to make concessions, at least in terms of showing Washington, listen, we're ready to have elections, we're ready to talk territory, but it has to be on Ukrainian terms and speaking with the Ukrainian people. You talk about the front lines there. If you have to speak to the soldiers right now, and they had to hold that referendum on territories, I can only imagine it would go in one direction.
Well, indeed, but once again, how do you hold a referendum? How do you hold presidential election in time of war? The Constitution does not grant that luxury, right? And in the absence of security guarantees, Ukraine would be walking into a Russia-set trap. Putin knows this very well. This is a recipe for chaos. I think Zelensky made quite a capable move here. He put the ball back in America's court. Okay, you provide us with security guarantees so we can hold these elections. When it comes to territorial concessions, very right, you put it correctly. This is not up to the president, contrary to what Trump thinks. This is up to the people. It has to be done in a national referendum, just signing off on the transfer of Ukraine land. And let's not forget also, we're looking at these 28 points, we're looking at these 20-point peace formulas. None of the parties other than Ukraine, I'm talking about the Russian side, it's not obligated under the terms of this peace agreement as it's being proposed. It's not held legally to any sort of agreement. It just goes basically by Trump's word and Vladimir Putin's word. Ukraine is the only party in all of this that will have to be bound legally to all the promises it makes under the conditions of this document.
On that bleak outlook, Peter Zalmayev, thank you as always for just bringing that to us.